Well, good morning. So a little bit later than I expected to do this, actually. I was having technical difficulties setting up this live stream. Obviously, it's still a work in progress, still kind of working through a lot of the little things, all the audio glitches, mixing, and that kind of stuff using this new software. I was streamed for the first time live yesterday, which was the first time in like 3 years, 2 years, about 2 years. So it was pretty cool. I would just invite you here into my office here. This whole point of this whole live show is really chill, really laid back. My main goal here is kind of take you through just my morning routine before the kind of day gets started. Typically this is way later in the day than I would be normally doing this, but like I said, I kind of got backed up on the technology side of things, trying to get things to work. But what I'm going to plan on doing here is inviting you guys to kind of come along with me and go through my process of keeping current on real estate news and relevant information that's going out constantly into the industry. We are in an industry where there is so much information constantly being thrown at us, interest rates going up or down, absorption rate, all this headlines and things like that kind of try to grip us. So the point of what I do every single morning is I try to take a little bit of time, and I'll do this at the end of the day too, but mainly in the morning, I spend a little bit of time kind of going through all news articles, kind of going through and seeing what the news is saying in regards to real estate. Helps me to stay on point for helping to train the agents that I lead and work with every day. So that's kind of my point there. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to kind of come in here, do some live streaming, be very relaxed, and just kind of talk through this. So at any point, feel free to throw something in the comments, in the chat there, and ask me questions about stuff. But my goal here is to help empower you guys to be able to have information, to be able to answer that typical question that a real estate agent gets asked, and how's the market? That's the typical question we get asked when someone finds out you're in real estate. So that's really the main point here, is just kind of help you stay on point and to be able to answer those questions. I will say this, in the preparation for just kind of going through the news articles, I got to think about my career a little bit in real estate. I've been doing this now, and come January of 2026, that will be my 20th year doing real estate. So being in the industry, I've done every type of position in this industry for many years. But I can't believe it's been 20 years. It's wild. My son had just been born when I got into real estate. He'll be 20 next year. So it's pretty wild. What a journey. 20 years been doing this thing. And I will say, to be honest, I actually love it more than I did when I first started. Now, I know a lot of times this industry can really kind of change your opinion about that. It can be very difficult. There's certain elements that just kind of tend to drag you down. There's a lot of uncertainty in this industry as far as making money, making a living, those type of things. And I get it. Been there, done that. But I will say, if you're struggling at all, stick with it. Don't let go of the dream of being in real estate. It is a very, very rewarding career. I look back on it with many, many moments of just thankfulness for it. It has taught me a lot. It's grown me. It's challenged me. It's been good for my family, the flexibility it provides, those type of things. I can't say enough that I truly do like this industry. I think it's a really good industry. So if you are thinking about getting into real estate, I encourage you to do so. But don't go in thinking that it's just easy and you're gonna make a lot of money. It is just like any other job. It is work. It requires consistent, marketing of yourself and going after leads and following through. All those type of things are very relevant. It's not going to be just a get rich quick scheme. It's not. It requires work, especially if you're going to do it right. If you're going to make sure you understand that it's not about the dollar, it's about the people. And that means it takes time to kind of build that kind of database of people that refer business back to you and understand that you're growing a business and it's going to take time. Great. Get into real estate. You're going to love it. Like I said, I've never looked back and I never will. This is my career. Love it. It's got its challenges, but it's all good. So with that being said, let's dive into some news articles. So grab your coffee if you got it. Again, you might have already had it. It's 9:40 here, so you might have already had the coffee. I'm running behind, but just so you know, I like Arabica beans. Don't get me into that Robusta stuff. This is Pete's, Mr. Dickerson's blend. It's a kind of a bold coffee, but it's not super bold where it's like black and it just burns your mouth and leaves a residue there. It's really just a good smooth coffee. So try it, recommend it. So there's my coffee tip for the day. All right, let's get into some of the articles that I've actually pulled up that I think are pretty relevant for today and kind of what's being talked about in the industry. It's not going to be I'm not going into like a huge amount of like the headliners. The first one kind of is. The other ones I'll go into. Well, there's three other ones. Well, it's just a mixture. Most of it, though, to be honest, is going to be kind of helping you guys as agents and kind of working through how to represent clients well and giving some advice from my experience, that kind of stuff. So let's dive into this here. All right. So the first article that I was looking at this morning is Zillow had announced something that they're doing. They are removing climate data from its home listings. Now, if you didn't know this, Zillow within the past few years was gradually integrating some of the, there's another website out there that they're data partners with Zillow on. It's called First Street. And First Street aggregates a bunch of climate, floodplain data onto their server. And Zillow and them were partnering up with data sharing. I don't know if there's any kind of ownership going on there. I have no idea. But as far as like the data is concerned, there was a data sharing agreement. And a lot of the data that First Street had was being integrated into the Zillow listings. And the Zillow listings then were integrating like where the floodplains are and off of historical data, that kind of stuff. And I will say, I've had a lot of experience with this over the past couple years, where some of the information has been wrong, overlaid onto properties, more specifically like floodplains and things like that. It might have been a recently floodplain and it was regraphed and changed and it was not in a floodplain anymore. Those type of things do happen. So there were some inconsistencies there in our industry, and a lot of agents were pushing back on this. So to be honest, this is probably a good move on Zillow's part. And I would, to be honest, just as real estate agents are concerned, our job is not to sit here and be the orators of all truth, right? We understand where to find the facts and the data. We don't always just give the data off of our opinions. So this is a good move on Zillow's part to remove that legality from them and put it back on like FEMA and the other sources of data that actually do this kind of research and give those reports. So with that being said, that's kind of what's happened here. And so I'm hopeful that this will actually help not send out wrong data, which once it's attached to a property, it causes all kinds of problems. We had a seller trying to get their back end of their property removed as a floodplain, and because it was not listed that way on FEMA, and there was nothing we could do. They would not change that. We fought with them, and they would not change it. So this could be a good thing. So why did Zillow remove climate data from its home listings? The home search site is pointing users elsewhere for climate risk info. A move, it says, aligns with varying MLS rules, but what those rules are is not clear. Yeah, okay. So the key points of this is Zillow has pulled the climate risk details from all home listings nationwide and now directs viewers to data partner First Street's website to find it. A story in the New York Times featured complaints about climate risk info from CRMLS and its CEO, but the MLS said it has not made new rules about it. And then, regardless of the circumstances, the removal of climate data from Zillow listings comes as more California agents signal losing out on home sales due to issues related to home insurance. Hey, Kevin, good to see you, my friend. Good morning to you as well. Lakeland, Florida, man, it's been a while. You've come in the past, so good to see you again, man. I hope everything's been well. Thanks for logging in. Home search leader Zillow has changed the way that it shares climate risk information, directing visitors to the website of data partner First Street rather than surfacing it on Zillow home detail pages. Now, the quote that they made right here, the Zillow spokesperson says this update ensures consumers continue to have access to important information to help them consider factors such as insurance, repair costs, and long-term home ownership planning, and reflects our long-standing commitment to empowering consumers with transparent information. So they're basically saying, look, go go elsewhere to get that information, but we'll help you find that information, right? We'll give you the sources, but you as the buyer or prospect, it's your due diligence that you need to do to be able to go and find that information, not the duty of Zillow to do so. Which I would say as real estate agents, that would be exactly what I would encourage you to do. Our job is not to be the orators of facts. It is to make sure we, as a professional, we have the resources we need to be able to send them where they need to go. Why Zillow made the change for all its listings. The New York Times story highlighted complaints from real estate agents along with California Regional Multiple Listing Service and its CEO, Art Carter, about perceived discrepancies and inconsistencies in the climate risk data, and implied that Zillow's change was done under pressure from CRMLS. In a statement shared with Real Estate News, a Zillow spokesperson said that the change was made to comply with different MLS requirements, but did not highlight CRMLS specifically. Zillow's change in the way it displays climate risk data has been applied to all this on the site. Again, this goes back to what I was saying, is like there's been a lot of inconsistencies, and it has killed deals. It has killed deals across the industry. It has with where I work. It's done that here. So that is absolutely happened. I've experienced this firsthand, and really we tried to work with Zillow to get this change, and they would not change it. All right, so the impact of skyrocketing insurance rates. As organized real estate and home search sites debate the accuracy of climate data and the merits of displaying it on property listings, one issue that isn't being disputed is the rising cost of home insurance. Zillow's move to point consumers off the site to explore climate risk comes at a time when more homeowners are seeing major increases in their insurance premiums, and others are actually seeing the steep cost of insurance eat into their home value. And this is the thing too, is like this data, it affects what that interest rate is, what the insurance rate will be, right? So if a home has a higher risk for climate or higher risk of flood or whatever, that the insurance companies reads that data, and then they have substantial data to use to increase those premiums. So it's helping to increase those, and Zillow, with having that information there, was making that more heightened aware. So again, I see this as a overall good move. So just a couple things I would point out as action items in this, because really we can read articles all the time and not be able to articulate what they say to our clients. So here's what I'm going to say. There is a couple things as agents that we really need to be focused on doing. And that is proactively educating our buyers on what local climate hazard risks, what does that actually look like locally? So this would be where I would say buyer consultation and risk assessment, when having those conversations with your buyers, is extremely important, right? You need to have, go to First Street, use that as a data source to find out what's going on. Have that as part of your links, of important links, maybe on your website. Have FEMA. Independently of any other source, not Zillow, not the MLS. Use actual sources. Go to FEMA if you need to know what's actually going on in floodplains, and look at their most updated recent maps. They're completely free to look at. So have that in your arsenal, and proactively go and educate your buyers, right? Where we live, there's a lot of floodplains, a lot of mountains, and a lot of valleys. And when you're in the valley, there's a lot of areas that are built along creek beds or rivers, and they are prone to flooding. But sometimes those areas have never flooded. But the perception, it could be that they flood. So you want to be able to have access to those things to be able to help your buyers and know exactly how to help them, right? Another one thing I would say is, integrate some, some home insurance providers. Have conversations with people that provide insurance and what it is that they do and what they're looking for. Have a list of a few good insurance providers that would be a good source for you to give to your buyers and sellers when they go to buy or sell their house. I would even counsel, your sellers on obtaining, your buyers on obtaining a insurance quote to be proactive in their buying process. So have them, before we go too far into the buying process, get a rough quote on what that home will be for insurance, because that is a cost to buy. So these are all really important things to do as being the professional in this industry and helping people to be able to navigate this very complex, high-end purchase of their life. And we can't take it lightly. As professionals, we really need to be equipped on these things and pay attention to what's going on in the industry. So again, that's why I'm reading these articles. I'm trying to keep updated on these things, because these are the things that are changing, and we really do need to be aware of them. All right, let's go back to another article here. On this one, this one here is by housingwire.com. It's an agent contributor page, so I'm going to assume it's probably an agent that posted this. Let's see. Rainey Hake, Austin is a brokerage leader at the agency. Yep, this column does not necessarily reflect the opinion. Yeah, so this is an agent post, just using their own information, their own data. So this is kind of neat. So I'll just simply do a shout out real quick to Rainey Hake. Thank you in Austin. All right, let's go through this article here. What 2025 taught real estate agents, and then strategies for 2026 goal planning. We are heading into that goal planning phase. I know a lot of people start doing January, New Year's resolutions. I am not a New Year's resolution guy at all. I think maybe I can, self-reflect on the past year and look at things and then try to intentionally do things a little bit better. But I'm not a New Year's resolution. But I am a goal person, and I think goals are those tangible things that you need to hit for and aim for, and then ultimately hit at the end of the year. So that should be the strive, right? So when you're setting goals, I like the reality ones, the ones that say I want to sell X amount of properties, I want to make X amount of money, and then I start working backwards from there, making a plan on how to get to that point, like how many calls I'll make, how many leads I'll follow up with, all those type of things. I think that's a good practice to do at the beginning of the year. But anyway, so this article is talking about kind of that, like what did we learn from 2025? And then how can we take what we learned and apply it to 2026? So I think this should be pretty good. It's going to say, real estate professionals are urged to analyze 2025 outcomes, including referrals and marketing results, to guide intentional 2026 business planning. Yeah, I love that word. What 2025 taught us. The past year tested even the most experienced professionals. Transaction volume reached historic lows as elevated mortgage rates and hesitant sellers created a slower, more complex market. In that environment, the agents who stayed steady were the ones who communicated consistently, strengthened their personal brands, and focused on relationships rather than speed. So what's happening here, and what I really like is he's basically describing going back to the basics. Man, we can get so caught in the weeds in social media and marketing and all these type of things that we negate the actual things that build us business, that actually bring money in. And those are those things, right? Consistently communicating with your clients and your database. Absolutely. Branding yourself, that's important. Making sure your brand is on point and it's not confusing, like all your social media platforms and emails and everything has a very consistent, cohesive marketing angle to it, that when they see it, that it's branded to you. Great. Focusing on relationships, that is absolutely crucial. I mean, it's amazing that people get into these sales tactics and they negate just that relationship building aspect. I would go out to coffee with my dearest friends that have referred a bunch of business to me on a regular basis, and I encourage you to do likewise. Like, get out there and stay in front of the people you have a relationship with. The questions you should be asking before setting 2026 goals: audit your business with curiosity and honesty. Here are the questions that will reveal where you should focus your energy. So feel free to answer these in the comments, honestly. But which client relationships generated the most referrals and why? Look for patterns. Were they the transactions where you communicated proactively, where you went the extra mile on staging or marketing? Understanding what drives loyalty helps you replicate it. Going back and looking at what generated the most business and your referrals, that shows you where to spend more time in, right? Like if all I did was just reactionary type marketing, where I got a call and I just kind of process it and I don't ever analyze exactly where that came from, I'm not proactively building my business. And then when it comes time to do what we're talking about here, setting goals, you have no idea where to even begin, where to spend your time. And that's really what's happening here is a lot of times people are, a lot of times that people just don't analyze where they get it. They just kind of reaction to the business, and then they don't even know where to go from there. They don't know how to analyze their numbers. Where does your marketing efforts see the best return? Whether it's social media, email campaigns, or local events, dig into the data. What actually moved the needle versus what just felt busy? Where did your marketing efforts see the best return? So data is very, very important. I do know that you guys are inundated with so much information and like good ideas, like new technology and new ways to do things. And there's like all this kind of stuff being constantly thrown at you, and it's exciting and it seems fun. And it distracts you a lot of times from the things that are actually already working, especially when it comes to like social media. There's an element for that, but you can spend a lot of time on that you negate all the other things. And I will emphasize one that he kind of points out here: local events. Very crucial, because real estate is local. Social media and stuff is so broad, and there's so many people competing for attention. When you go to a local event and you're sitting down at a table and you're talking to people on a regular basis and you're engaging with those same people in your community on a consistent basis, guess what? They know you as the professional. They want to do business with you. So that, totally agree with this. Yeah, this is good stuff. Which transactions demanded the most effort for least reward? This one's tough but important. If certain client types or price points consistently drain your resources without a proportional result, it might be time to refine your ideal client profile. That's true. There is a lot of transactions out there that you might be doing that you think you enjoy doing or that you do that is really not actually, time versus money. It's not working out. It takes way more time for way less money. So going back and looking at each one of your transactions, go back and audit each one of those and figure out where those leads came from. What was the deal? What was the price? Was it easy? Was it difficult? What made it hard? What made it easy? Those are questions to be asking yourself over every single one of your transactions. Are your listings speaking to where the market is heading? Today's buyers, especially in luxury, are prioritizing wellness, sustainability, and smart home integration. If your marketing still leads with square footage instead of lifestyle, you're already behind. So that's very good. So here's something to even do with that. Why not go to your MLS and do an audit of sold properties and look and see days on the market, take the days on the market, compare it to list and sell price, and see what the description was, how it was laid out, what did the photos look like, what kind of videos did they have. Audit those properties that sold. So if you have properties that are not selling and you notice some discrepancies between the days on the market versus what you do, well, that might be an indicator that you might be behind the times when it comes to marketing properties effectively, and you need to shift some things around. Don't get stuck in a rut doing the same thing every single time, expecting the same results as the years go by. People are very fickle. They flip-flop back and forth all the time. So you got to keep reinventing yourself in some ways and kind of getting back out there. So keep that in mind. Moving forward with purpose. The agents who will thrive in the year ahead aren't the ones the longest to-do list. They are the ones treating change as a signal to innovate, deepen relationships, and lead with strategy rather than just hustle. Here's how to stay ahead. Embrace technology, refine your client experience, build strategic partnerships, and set time to reflect. Very good. I won't break this down anymore, but you kind of get the idea. This is a great article. Just easy, simple, food for thought things. Nothing too difficult whatsoever. But again, that's very crucial because we overcomplicate everything that we do. So keep it simple. All right. Let's see. I'm going to. Let's see. Let's go to. Yeah. Let's go to this one right here. Yeah. Kind of sticking with the same theme here when it comes to like auditing yourself and kind of going through and looking at your real estate marketing and your business. This article I found that just kind of goes right along with it. It was posted at the same time. This is on Inman.com. You have to subscribe to Inman. So, but here's the thing. I highly encourage you, if you are a real estate agent, subscribe to Inman. There's a lot of helpful information on here. They post news articles every single day, constantly. So it's really good as a source. This is Stacy Ross Cohen, is CEO of Co Communications, a branding expert and the author of Brand Up. Follow her on Instagram and LinkedIn. All right. So let's get into this article here. I'm going to skim through this really quick. Leave no stone unturned. A proper audit means getting granular. Oh, let's go back up here. While the prospect of a new year comes the opportunity to wipe the slate clean of sale or underperforming marketing efforts, from videos that fail to gain traction to ads that miss the mark, it is a perfect time to take inventory of your marketing assets. So, ready to turn page? Let's go. So she's just going to be talking about, kind of go back and look at your marketing. What worked, what did not work, right? A proper audit means getting granular. Look at everything from the open and click rates on your email marketing to the breakdown of your advertising budget. What events did you attend? Where did your clients come from? And which successes are worth repeating? Where were the missed opportunities? Is it time to reposition yourself? And of course, what did the competition do that you did not? These are all questions to be asking yourself, absolutely, because you going back and understand what your competitor's doing. Like take the top selling agent in your area. Look and see where they are, what they're doing on social media, where they're posting, what kind of marketing materials they do, what does their marketing look like, how consistent are they at marketing, what are they doing to generate the business that they have. All right, so look at them and then compare yourself, and if there's things that you can do better or replicate, great. And then a challenge to you top producing agents out there is, if you're in a brokerage with multiple agents, everybody succeeds when you also teach and train. It will help get more signs out there. You'll make more money. Understand that the agents in your office, yes, are you competing with them? To some degree, 100%. But at the same time, they're part of your team. Helping to elevate them elevates yourself, opens doors for opportunities, and then there's more signs out there. Your brokerage becomes better and stronger. So I encourage you to do that. Take a new construction mindset as you plan for a bright 2026. Do not limit yourself. Always wanted to host a podcast, gain traction in a neighborhood, or break down in a niche market. Make 2026 a year. Podcasting, videos, look, it is still very, very relevant. Set your sights on being the best on the block. It's no secret that the residential real estate market is highly competitive. Whether you are vying for listings or working to become the seller's agent of choice in your market, standing out is imperative. What makes your approach to buying and selling unique? How does that translate into a better, more lucrative experience for buyers and sellers? What's the differentiation? What sets you apart from your competitors that you're competing with? What does that look like? Again, going back and analyzing these things is very, very important for your business. Speaking of the best, great marketing does not happen in a silo. Staying aware of how the competition is positioned itself is critical. We talked about that. If it's not broken, do not try to fix it. As noted earlier, replicate what works. This is going back to what we were just talking about. If there is something you're doing that works, go back and look. If it's working, you maximize that thing. You make it better, you tweak it, and you keep doing it. But then also don't tweak it too much because it's working, right? Use it. Test with other markets, try other things, but do not make that your main focus. Don't get distracted by all those things. Good article. Just a couple things that just are popping in my head as I talk about this. I challenge you to do this. When it comes to personal branding and consistency, what I would say, summarizing up these past two articles, is conduct a full brand audit. Okay, ensure your consistent visual identity, messaging, your unique value proposition, which is called the UVP, is the same across all platforms. Make it consistent so people know who you are. Do a brand audit. Know what that is. What I also would say is, shift from like interruption and like where you just kind of take all these new marketing ideas and you just start kind of just throwing it out there and it just interrupts what's actually working, to focusing more on what I would call attraction marketing. That means, you're prioritizing more, things locally, being more engaged in high value content, be more hyper local to your market. And that is where the leads kind of tend to generate from, is that more hyper local idea. So yeah, social media, all that kind of stuff, websites, great, SEO, yes, you kind of got to do all that. But I will say you're going to build a business from being hyper local. And then, honestly, don't negate like kind of what the AI powered tools are doing for us. There is a lot that will do. I'm not a believer it's going to replace an agent at all. I think it's going to help kind of do some of those mundane tasks we do all the time. And I think you need to kind of be very equipped with understanding what AI powered tools are, because they can help with like email management, follow-ups. They can help with hyper personalization of marketing materials. And then always be cautious though, is don't just generate something and just immediately start posting out there. Always make sure you have that human eye element in there and make it your own. I don't like the typical AI generated stuff. You can tell it's AI, so don't go there. And then focus on kind of just marketing yourself in a way that creates like a client experience. Something that makes them want to come back because they felt safe, they felt taken care of, they felt informed. meeting them wherever they are technically, either if that person uses it social, web, email, or in person, kind of meeting people in all those different categories. But make sure that you are providing like that client experience. Draft everything around trying to create that experience. Just like when you go to your favorite restaurant, there's an experience you expect to have there. When you don't get that experience, you have a lot to say about it, and usually in the reviews. And that's what happens with real estate agents. If they don't have a good experience, don't worry, they're going to let people know about it. We see this all of the time. All right. I got another video. I've got a video here. And here's the thing, this is actually more of a test for me because, again, I'm using this software. So I'm gonna see how this sound comes through and see how that goes. So I'm gonna pause the background music, which I have no idea how loud that is. I'll have to go back and watch the live stream and tweak it some more, I'm sure. But this is a video by foxbusiness.com. It says, now is a good time a time as any to buy real estate, by Ryan Serhant, which Ryan is, they'll probably mention this. He is, I think, he's from a show that he had, I think it's in Manhattan, where he's an agent up there and he has a show that he goes around, sells houses and stuff. And she has him on as a guest. And anyway, they're talking about just buying in general. So this is kind of advice for buyers out there thinking about not buying or holding off, and also for agents to help us articulate verbiage that actually, helps us to explain situations to our buyers better. So let me see if this is going to work well. And let's see if you guys can hear this.
Sets in. The housing
Hopefully you can hear that.
Appears to be heating up, and here's why. According to Bankrate, today the current rate on an average 30-year fixed mortgage has dropped to 6.25%. A year ago, that rate was at 6.84%. With the cost of borrowing to buy a home cooling. So
here's the thing, like interest rates have come down a little bit, right? I mean, we're not looking at drastic numbers here, but it is coming down because of inflation cooling just a little bit. So we have seen this happen, and that does spur activity into the market. So interest rate coming down, I don't think we're going to see really low rates. I'm sure they're going to talk about that here in just a second.
The Christmas rush is on. U.S. mortgage applications jumped 7.6% last week to their highest level since early 2023, with the index level hitting 181.6. Should buyers jump on the pre-Christmas borrowing bargain or wait for an even better deal?
I would say
now live in the studio,
buy.
Serhant founder and
buy. Don't
CEO
wait.
Ryan Serhant.
Yeah, don't wait.
The star of Netflix's Owning Manhattan and the star
Owning Manhattan.
Much of the luxury real estate world. So listen, trying to catch the low of a mortgage rate for a season, it's like trying to catch a bullet that's
that's gambling at best, right? You don't play the game with interest rates really. If you need to buy, you go buy. You can always refinance. The reality is you can buy a house and later refinance. A lot of mortgage companies out there will allow you to refinance without much fees. So you can refinance a home. So waiting to buy and playing the interest game, you're losing equity. And most of the time, the amount you would pay for interest over the time of the appreciation of the home, it doesn't measure out. So you're better off to buy now. I'm not actually watching this, but I'm sure that's what they're going to get to.
Going by you.
Can't do it. It's the power of the refinance.
Okay,
so always refinance.
Yeah,
what do you make of 6.25%?
I think 6.25% is definitely better than 6.8, which is definitely better than 7.5, which is definitely better than 8%. Cool. I think affordability is definitely a crisis, but if you're paying a lot in rent and you're looking to build equity and you want to buy, now's as good a time as any. Maybe the Fed lowers rates on December 10th. Maybe they don't. I think we're like 50-50 with where inflation is.
Yeah, so there you go. Why wait? Especially if you're renting, you're buying someone else's house, you're throwing money at that, you're paying for their property, right? You're getting no equity. So when you start talking about interest rate and what that interest rate is, if you can afford to buy a house, you need to go buy a house because every time you make a payment, you're gaining equity in your house. So you have money you could sell your house and have something attainable there. So you rent. If you can get out of renting, get out of renting.
But you can always refinance. You might not always find another home that you're going to love for years and years and years to come.
Okay, but I'm trying to
when
get
you find a house you like,
the
go buy
answer
it,
to what I know a lot of our viewers are asking.
And it
Is
works in your
going
budget.
to go lower? And I ask this because the Federal Reserve meets next week. They are expected to cut 0.25%. And
Okay, so
often the
Federal Reserve, and when they cut that rate, it doesn't necessarily always reflect an interest rate for mortgages deduction. It doesn't usually correlate. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. So her question is, could it? Yeah, it could, but that doesn't mean it will. That doesn't mean it will.
10-year
We've seen
tracks
this many times over.
what the Fed is doing. So if the Fed cuts, wouldn't the 10-year start to fall? Or the 30-year, rather, mortgage rates sometimes fall?
Not necessarily.
No, not necessarily. And I think if you're waiting for rates to come down, I think you're probably not a real purchaser, right? If you're waiting for rates to come down to where we were over the past couple of years, then I think you probably should stay renting.
Sounds like he's being mean, right? Well, then you're probably not a real buyer. Well, he's right. You're not a real buyer. If you're playing the interest rate game, you're not a real buyer. You're playing. You're just gambling. Here, thinking that it's going to come down. Here's the thing. Your idea is that you're thinking I'm going to hold it back and it's going to come down based on what it was, 3 or 4 years ago. Crazy low. Guys, we're never going to see that again. I could be completely wrong, but I highly, highly, highly doubt we're going to see the interest rates that we saw a few years ago ever again. So what are you waiting on? What are you waiting on?
New normal is not low rates.
Yeah,
I
new
think
normal.
people are confused that we're entering a new normal where we're going to have lower rates. It's not going to happen. So that's why you're seeing, obviously, with high rates, putting a lot more cash into the system. In New York City alone, 60% of all of our deals are done in cash across all price points. And most people have been priced out of owning a home. But those who are buying are paying cash. And if they're getting loans, they're structuring in different ways than ever before. I was just talking to a client now who never would do an ARM, so an adjustable rate mortgage, right? Who now is doing an ARM because.
So yeah, when interest rates get a little high, then we get really creative on the mortgage offerings. Historically, ARMs are risk, because adjustable rate mortgage. I mean, I'm sure the people I'm talking to understand what that is, but basically you have a rate that can fluctuate in the life of the loan. It goes up, it doesn't go down. So it's a high risk, typically, interest rate, but you can usually start off with a lower interest rate over time. The idea being is that your income is going to increase, the equity of the home is going to increase as you pay down for that first period, that then when the ARM begins to adjust, you can go back and refinance, and you're playing a game a little bit to say, well, maybe that interest rate will be lower next time I go to refinance on the ARM and capture it at a lower rate. So it buys me a little bit of time. And gives me an ability to do a refinance. So usually you'll start seeing this kind of stuff happen as rates are right around that 7% rate amount. So yeah.
Because they can get it at just over 5%, and they're not going to be in the house for longer than probably 5 years anyway. And it's just what makes sense for that monthly budget.
What are sellers doing? We decided to just take a look and compare. We picked New York, but also Chicago, get something in the Midwest as well. And if you look at a listing we found in Chicago, it was a 3-bed, 2-bath, about 2.2 thousand square feet, right on Lakeshore Drive. Listing price was $828,000. The sale price was below that at $815,000. 35 days on the market.
Good deal.
Okay, so that's a good deal, right? It came down. Let's flip it over to New York. Something
like in New York, for example, you're talking about it now. We've had 4 weeks now of more contracts signed over $4 million.
Yeah, so if you're waiting for rates to go down to extreme lows, you're better off renting. Yeah,
dollars in a row than we've had in a long, long time. I just closed like 2 minutes ago a penthouse at Williamsburg Wharf in Brooklyn for $2,700 a foot, over $7 million. It's a Naphtali project selling like wildfire.
Makes so much money.
We just had a closing for just over $20 million on a project on 57.
Like what did he say? How? Oh my gosh, how much money?
What? Over $7 million. It's a Naphtali project.
Over $7 million. Like, golly. You know how much money he's making? Whew. Now, he lives in a very high, expensive area, but holy moly.
Like wildfire. We just had a closing for just over $20 million on a project on 57th Street this morning. So in the luxury sector,
in my market,
are few and far between. But everywhere
you never
else,
see
you can get a good deal.
anything selling that much.
So Redfin says that roughly 85,000 U.S. sellers delisted their homes from the market in September. That would be a 28% jump from last year, highest level in 8 years. Again, that was September. So do you think they're going to figure out, oh my gosh, wait a minute, now rates are falling, I better.
Yeah, so we're seeing that. There are a lot of people who are moving their house off the market because it hasn't sold for what they wanted for it. I would say it's probably common across the board. You can let me know.
Put it back on?
It depends on the marketplace. It depends on where the seller is going. A lot of sellers price opportunistically in the spring. That's why they say spring sellers, fall buyers. So they price because they're excited, because Bob got this or Sally got this price, so they go on the market. And when it doesn't sell because they price too high, then they pull it off the market. Because if they can't afford where they're going because rates are high for them as well, or rents are high for them, then it doesn't make sense to sell. The locked-in effect from
this comes into those consultations and conversations you really need to be having, right? Understanding this with your seller. Agents, I get it. You want those properties listed. You want them listed, and you want them to sign that agreement and get them on the market, and you want to lock them in for 6 months and all those type of things. I get it. But at the end of the day, though, is if you get a property that you can't sell, you've spent a lot of money on a property you cannot sell, and you're losing money. So have those conversations up front. Find out, ask those probing questions of the seller, like, what is your plan when we do sell? What does that look like for you? Like, where are you moving to? Like, what kind of home are you looking at? Like, have those conversations. Because then what you want to really do is do kind of a cost analysis. Is like, you can do a couple of different scenarios. If we sold your property at this, here's what you could do over here. If we did this is like your bottom dollar. If we could get this, here you still could do this. And having those type of scenario conversations up front would help you to avoid getting your property delisted in the long run, because you've been honest with them. They're hiring you as a professional. Remember, they're hiring you as a professional. Give them professional advice. Don't just list properties.
Low rates is going to last another 5 to 7 years.
Don't tell us that. Poor Gen XYZ. They're trying to buy homes, but just before we go, because you're launching your new season 2 of Owning Manhattan.
Yeah, I've never watched that. Has anybody watched that?
We had you many times recently, but
I mean,
about 2 years ago when you were first launching, the first one, you showed us a penthouse here in New York City on 57th Street that was listed, total luxury, $250 million.
Yes.
Whatever happened with that?
Oh, yeah,
we
sold
went
it.
in and out of contract, a lot of busted opportunities, like 3 or 4 times, and then what?
Golly, that's up there.
It's currently off the market. There has been a lot of activity, but still waiting for that right purchaser.
How can somebody carry that?
Wow.
How can they carry it? There's like 19 yachts in Miami right now that are all worth individually more than that penthouse, all with a staff of 20. There are more billionaires on the planet right now than we know what to do with. More cash has been created in the system. And so they
it's unbelievable amount of cash.
They carry it, and they'll also find.
Wow. All right. Well, there you go. So holy moly. Yeah, I can't even imagine selling that kind of real estate. I'm not going to lie. That's insane. Insane amount of volume. Just amazing. So what would I take from this? There's a lot to kind of unpack in that video. I have a saying, there's always more. there's a lot in there. But here's what I would say. Reframe the market uncertainty. There is a lot of uncertainty being propagated by news outlets. And for buyers mainly, interest rates, Gen Z, millennials, you heard her mention that. It's like there is a lot of fear, like, can I even buy a house? Can I even afford a house? And those type of things. You need to emphasize the value that owning a home is to them. So that buyer consultation that you have and working them through what interest rates are, giving them scenarios about what that looks like, if it drops another half point versus if it stays where it is, and what that looks like over the 5-year, transition, over the 5-year period, and how much money that is versus how much inflation is happening, what the appraised value of your home will be in 5 years, and understanding those numbers and doing the math for your clients is very crucial. So the buyer mindset is being inundated with news articles about how bad things are constantly because it sells articles. So you, as an agent, I challenge you, get in the data, get in the numbers, figure it out, and then help your clients along the way. What I would also I would switch to doing what I would call long-term wealth building strategies, portfolio, diversification benefits. What is it to actually own real estate despite of any high rate? So what kind of investments? There's a lot of people out there that have money that need to invest it. So even outside of just buying and selling your own home, what about having that niche where you're talking to investors and talking about them, what the effect of high interest rate is versus equity over long term? Have those kind of conversations. And then what I would also then lastly would say, highlight current housing inventory. What is it looking like in your local market? What is going on? How many homes are expiring on your market? What is the average listing price look like? What does the buyer traffic look like? These type of things that are going on locally are way more important than these news articles that you see nationally. Real estate is local, and the only way we can actually help counteract what some of these national news outlets are saying is by going hyper local. Get local. Focus on local information. All right. I've got one more news article. Can you imagine? I'm doing a lot, but this is my last one, guys. This is my last one, so just hang tight. This one actually is just kind of going back to helping agents. This is going to be talking about Instagram. To full transparency here, I'm not really that popular or that good at social media. I'm just not. I don't really care for it that much. But I say that cautiously because you do need it in the real estate industry. There's an element that it needs to play a part. But the problem is, and I've seen this way too many times, is it becomes the dominant focal point of a real estate agent. And it can be very, very distracting, and that doom swipe is absolutely real. I will fall into that trap sometimes. Like I'll load up Instagram, go to the reels, and just watch those and laugh and share them with the family and that kind of stuff. We have a good time with it. But I will say that kind of stuff can be a time suck. But there is a way to use it effectively. So this next article is what I'll be focusing on. This again is Inman. I highly recommend you getting a subscription to this and just using it. It's got some valuable stuff. Head of Instagram, you're missing reach if you don't do these 5 things. Instagram rewards the people who adapt, experiment, and show up consistently. Okay, so I will say this. Jimmy Burgess, he has a YouTube channel. You can check him out. Posts tons and tons of helpful videos. And he's a regular on Inman, and he talks specifically to agents, specifically directly to you in current relevant ways. It's not just hype. He does do a great job talking about what's going on currently and what that looks like. And in this article, this was posted November 30th by Jimmy Burgess. It says social media is no longer optional for real estate agents. It continues to be one of the fastest growing opportunities we have for building visibility, driving conversations, and ultimately generating new business. As Instagram continues to evolve heading into 2026, the platform is giving us more clarity than ever on what works, what doesn't, and what agents should focus on to grow. Recently, Adam Mosseri, head of Instagram, highlighted several features the algorithm is prioritizing right now in a video he posted. So there's a video. I'm not going to watch the video. But here's the breakdown of what he kind of said. And this is coming directly from Instagram, right? It says, start strong with a high impact hook. Attention spans on Instagram are short. They are absolutely short. Seconds. We're talking about seconds. And you have roughly 3 seconds to stop a viewer from scrolling past your content. 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and they're gone. That's on average. That makes the first sentence of your video or the first frame of your reel the most valuable real estate you own on Instagram. So you really got to think strategically about that hook. What is it that's going to hold them and hold their attention? So it says hooks that work best call out a clear audience, promise a specific outcome, or offer value immediately. Here are some effective examples tailored for real estate agents. All right, so here's some examples that they give, right? Before you buy in this market, watch this. Okay, targets buyers and creates urgency. This is where I go back to all the stuff we just talked about, all these buyer consultations and all this kind of articles and stuff. This is where it kind of comes together. Because before you buy in this market, watch this. Is telling them that maybe you're about to teach them something. Maybe it's about the interest rate and what the effects of interest rates are over a long period of time versus waiting to buy versus buying now, right? Maybe that's the video, but that hook is a good one for that. It targets buyers and creates urgency. 3 mistakes buyers are making right now and how to avoid them. If I were buying a house today, here's exactly what I would do. These are great. One strategy that is saving my clients thousands in closing costs is do not start your home search until you see this. So this is all very good stuff, right? Again, you could create that hook and go into what we just talked about in this live show about the news articles and what's going on in the news, and then put that in and make it relevant for them. But it would hook them that first 3 seconds, right? So that hook is very, very important. Add captions to every reel. Yeah, this is true, because a lot of times people have it muted or turned halfway down. They can't hear it, so they read through that, especially if they're doom scrolling at work or whatever. A lot of times they don't have it. They don't have the audio on. Mosseri recently said the audio is off about half the time they are in feed on Instagram. That means if your content relies on audio, you are losing reach before the viewer even has a chance to hear what you say. Adding captions allows viewers to understand your message quickly and improves completion rates on your reels, both of which the algorithm rewards. Instagram now generates captions automatically inside the app. So there you go. Yeah, 100%, right? You definitely need to make sure that is doing that correctly. That way they can read it. Number 3, use locations and collaborators to expand your reach. Mosseri encouraged creators to use translations for multilingual audiences, but for most agents, 2 other features matter more: location tagging and collaborators. Both dramatically increase how people see your content. Location tagging, yeah. So again, hyper local. Don't try to do this big, broad, I want to be an influencer and have all these followers and that kind of stuff. That is not the game. The game is hyper local. You are selling to your market. Be hyper local. He says, like, some suggestions: post a market update, highlight a neighborhood, promote a local business, and feature a listing. Those are some suggestions out there. Collaborators: when you invite another account to be a collaborator, upon their acceptance, your post has the ability to appear on their feed in addition to your own feed. I've never done this. Again, I'm not an expert in any kind of social media thing, but I understand what this is, right? What they're saying is, and you could do this in your own brokerage with your own agents that work alongside you. Find another person and do collabs together. And that means right here, ideal collaboration opportunities include local restaurants and coffee shops, lenders and inspectors, title companies, builders and developers, other agents when co-marketing a property. You both have an Instagram account. You're going to collab together to create the same content that appears on both, thereby exposing both of your accounts to a broader audience, right? So, great suggestion. Add trending audio to reels and carousels. Audio may not matter much for static posts, but it plays an important role in reels and carousels. Instagram is currently prioritizing reels that use trending audio, but not the heavily saturated tracks everyone else is using. So this sweet spot is audio that has been used between 5,000 and 20,000 times. He's giving you kind of the roadmap here. So when you're trying to select audio, Instagram is prioritizing audio in these reels and carousels. It needs audio, it needs music, something trendy. But then they say the sweet spot in audio is between 5,000 and 20,000 times. So you're looking for audio that has been used that amount of times, not the one that's huge and trendy, but somewhere in that 5,000 to 20,000. It's probably because it's trending upwards, right? It has a more likelihood of that music trending upwards. So the relevancy of that song gets pushed more to the front of the algorithm, so then more people see it. Trending audio works especially well for listing tours, deal of the week, carousels, local business, spotlights, and short educational posts. Test new ideas with Instagram's trials feature. I know nothing about this one. One of the most exciting new tools Instagram has released is a trials feature. It allows you to post content that is shown primarily to non-followers first, without appearing on your main profile. One of the most exciting new tools. It allows you to post content that is shown primarily to non-followers first. So trials is perfect for agents who want to test new hook styles, new content formats, new video structures, market opinion pieces, seller or buyer education scripts. Interesting, yeah. Low risk way to experiment with new ideas while also expanding. Let me know if anyone out there uses that. I didn't even know that was a thing, but that is great. That goes back to like the old days where they do A/B testing. They still do that now. Like you'll have like A/B testing on YouTube and stuff like for thumbnails and stuff like that, where you can test different effects of the thumbnail and see which one has a better click-through rate. So it's still a thing, but this is a way that Instagram has done it. That's pretty cool. If you want to get more traction on Instagram in the months ahead, focus on a powerful hook, captions on every video, location and collaborators, strategic audio choices, testing content through trials. Awesome. So now I just, as I was kind of reading through that again, my mind kind of goes to a couple things. I know on Instagram, like you might have a default profile on there. What I would say is to optimize your profile, you need to make sure you switch that over to a business account and then use your location and then put in your description like niche specific keywords like, luxury Denver agent, name in your bio, those type of things. So go back and kind of audit your profile, optimize it for searchability, and then switch it over to a business account. It gives you some account features that allow you to kind of track what's working and what's not working. And I don't know if some of these things are only available like the trials. I wonder if that's only on the business side. I don't know. But anyway, and I'll also say this is just like he was talking about the prioritizing like short, engaging reels. Like showcasing like listings, neighborhood tours, even like client success stories, those type of things draw like organic reach out of your social media. Because when you do like, especially if you do like a success client success story or testimonial, they're going to see that and they're going to share it and they're going to tag it and they're putting their stories, that kind of stuff. So it has more traction and that's more organic reach, kind of going back to your profile. And then I will also say this, like, be sure to not just be a poster, but like engage with people that are, very heavily active on your Instagram. So, engage with your specific audience daily, either through direct messages, comments, what it would likes, hearts, all those type of things. Those that follow you, have that active relationship with them, engage with them. I think audience engagement is very, very important because remember, you are a relational business at first. So don't just send out information, say, use me, I'm just great, all the time. Make sure you have audience engagement. And then finally, the way social media works, and this is where you just massively get into the weeds and can be a time suck, is they all require, because you understand they are for profit, Instagram, Facebook, X, all of them, they are for profit. And how do they make money? The more people that view their site, the more ads get exposed, the more ad revenue they make, the more money they make. So what does that mean for you? Well, they mean you need to post very consistently. That means you need to have a very cohesive, visual, aesthetic, and very strong presence to make social media work. It needs to be recognizable that it's you. So that means brand identity needs to be very on point, but you need to do it consistently. So social media is one of those things where when you start, it's got to be done consistently over time to get results. So that's what I would say with Instagram. So, and any social media. Awesome. Well, there you go, guys. That was my normal morning routine. This is kind of what I do. Like by the time I start my day, I've already read my Bible, prayed, all those type of things. I've spent some time just reading books that I'm working through. Then I start answering my emails, going through text, that kind of stuff. But part of that routine is going on my computer, sitting here, opening up articles and news articles, dissecting them, understanding what they're saying, learning something new, trying to adapt my business or how I train my agents or what is going on in the real estate industry and helping them to navigate all these changes. Let's be real. You as agents don't have time to sit here and do probably what I just did. You've got calls coming in, emails coming in, contracts you're negotiating, appointments you got to get to, all those type of things. I get it. So this is what I do for the company I'm with. I help those agents, and this is part of that process. My job is to try to bring information quickly, succinctly, and deliver it to them in a way that they can apply it in their industry and help them navigate something that's just constantly changing so they can stay on point and be successful. So hopefully you've found some kind of value out of this. I'm working through a schedule on when I will be going live every week. More than likely, it's probably going to be around the 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time frame, and 2 to 3 times a week. We'll see how that works, and I'll be posting that on probably on the graphic, and also if you're watching this on YouTube, I've also started now I'm live streaming to Twitch right now as well. I know that's a weird platform to kind of go to, but I like kind of the fun elements, the fun aspects of Twitch that YouTube doesn't necessarily have. So I think it's kind of neat that you can have some followers and some shout outs and those type of things. Now I realize though, Twitch does not have the demographic that would typically be on there that would be wanting this content. I understand that. But at the same time, I think there is some relevancy inside of Twitch that I think is beneficial for building a community to help one another and kind of strengthen one another. So if you are watching this on YouTube, hey, consider going to Twitch, following me there, and then engaging me with you on that platform. I think there's a little bit more engagement abilities there too. But I'm learning all this stuff. It's a kind of a fun experiment. I hope you've enjoyed this. This is just a very relaxed live stream. Still working through some audio stuff, so I'm kind of curious on how it all kind of works out. I don't know how the audio sounds right now. I'm going to go back and listen to this and critique it, tweak my balances a little bit more, get ready for the next live show. But anyway, for those that are watching, I appreciate you guys. Great to have you guys here. Look forward to seeing you guys again. Be sure to engage me, like, comment, subscribe, all those type of things. I do appreciate it. Have a good day.